Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. We're going to talk about Kobold Press. We're going to talk about dueling, the value of dueling. All right, so let's get into this. So I recently bought a non-Dungeons & Dragons official core canon book, and I bought Warlock Grimoire 2 from Kobold Press. I bought it for a few reasons, all related to Dungeons & Dragons. So one, because I'm into Dungeons and Dragons, people talk a lot about Kobold Press, and I think Kobold Press did one of the early canon books, right? Or was that Green Ronin? I could be wrong there. It's probably Green Ronin now that I think about it. But I hear nothing but good things about Kobold Press, right? So I was at my FLGS, right? And I was at my FLGS just to see what cool D&D things they had in stock, right? And I saw this thing on the shelf, this Warlock Grimoire 2. And so one, I was like, I probably can bring some of those ideas over into my 5e game because people on my channel have said Kobold Press is great. The book says 5e on the cover. And then the other thing is the book was a $25. Yeah, it was $25. And it was a different shape. And so I have a tiny little go bag that I can squeeze my one D&D book hardback into. But I was like, that's going to fit in my bag really well, right? And so just the shape of the book got me to buy it, right? Like, it was one of the strong reasons why I bought it, right? So, and I was like, I can get ideas for this from Dungeons & Dragons. And boy, was I right. So it is fantastic. So there's a section in it on this town called Smoketown. Smoketown is exactly like Ravenloft. It kind of, or like Ravenloft used to be. It shifts in... it like kind of shifts and amorphously moves location, right? So Smoketown does that, and Smoketown is an entry point into the Nine Hells, and there are guides in Smoketown that lead player characters into the Nine Hells for different reasons, right? So so the book is describing Smoketown, right? And I've never seen anything like this, and so having read this book, because I read D&D 5e, right? My tabletop role-playing game research has really convinced me even more than I was presented evidence to me that we as a culture, American culture, should IRL move toward a dueling culture again, go back to dueling culture for multiple reasons. So right now in America, we have this terrible problem. It happens constantly, happens every week or two, maybe twice a week sometimes, right? And basically, we have violence that is against multiple people, is unscheduled, and happens in highly dense public areas, right? Okay, it's a terrible problem. There's a guy from my city, Philadelphia, drove up to New York, shot a bunch of people in a train center, right? And it was completely unexpected, right? That's terrible violence, right? And it's all wrong, right? Like it's all wrong, right? So Smoketown actually explained. It said it has this captain, and the captain is like kind of the main person in the town, and he keeps order. And you know how he keeps order? He said when there are beefs in the town, he allows duels, and duels are always held in a remote place. And the city of Smoketown supplies a nice dueling area, right? So the violence is remote, right? One. Somebody says, hey, I got beef with you, we're going to duel. The duel always happens the next day, scheduled, publicly stated to everyone. The violence is scheduled, right? And then last, duels are always between two people, never more, right? So the violence is singular, right? And so in a single page, actually, in 3 paragraphs, right? Smoketown in Warlock's Grimoire 2, this Kobold Press resource, perfectly explained the value of dueling, succinctly, right? It makes violence scheduled, remote, and singular, right? And we have problems in America right now because our violence is unscheduled, non-remote, and multiple, right? And it is horrible every time it happens, right? However, there are people, it's increasingly very clear that there are people who are like just outrageously frustrated and then get frustrated and then this unscheduled, unremote, multiple violence erupts, right? What if we had a culture where people could get really upset and then they'd be like, okay, listen, I'm scheduling this. It's going to be held in a remote place, and it's going to be singular. There could be medical teams there. Wouldn't that be a way better way to handle this problem that we're having? It seems outrageously clear that it would be, right? Like, just dramatically clear that there's huge value in dueling, and that if we as a society went back to dueling, it would be incredibly helpful and, like, be a very clear release valve on something that we need actual real help. Because what's happening right now is it happens, every news media reports it, everybody gets upset, and absolutely nothing happens, right? But this could be a real solution that would save lives, multiple lives, give people an outlet. It's a way better structure. And I learned that in 3 paragraphs, right? I think there's 3 paragraphs in Kobold Press's Warlock Grimoire 2 that says dueling is incredibly valuable and succinctly describes the value of it. And I would not have gotten to that book without D&D 5e. So I think D&D indirectly presents evidence that our society should return to IRL dueling, and it would massively save a bunch of lives and be a very real solution that we could implement within 12 months, right? All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.